Sorry about that. For everyone who has just joined the recording, we were just looking at the code base of dub.sh. This is me starting the video for the recording. Just some basic intro I did. And now we're looking at the code base of dub.sh only to see there are so many components here. Accordion.tsx. Jahan pe I see a bunch of these very long class names. Text gray 500. I don't know what that is. But everything that you see over here, this very long text string is Tailwind. This very long text string is Tailwind. Open any of their components. What is an accordion? An accordion is, it's like a tab that you click on, it expands. If you click on it again, it becomes small. A better example might be whatever, a badge. A badge is like a button, very close to a button. And notice so much ugly code. How long it gets. This string can get really long as time goes by. So even though Tailwind looks very ugly compared to raw styles, compared to Material UI, a library like that, people still use it. Why do people still use it? Because it's not opinionated. It lets people own their components. What do I mean by that? कि इस बंदे ने Steven Trey or whoever the founder here is wrote his own badge component. इसने अपना खुद का badge component लिखा है. Versus if you were using Material UI, you have to use their badge component and conform to however it looks. अगर वो गंदा दिखता है तो आपको गंदा यूज करना पड़ेगा. You can override the styles, but the default implementation is a certain way. It is opinionated. You cannot change their opinion, or it's hard to change their opinion to convert it to your own design. This guy, you have control of all the designs. You can create your own badge component, for example. They have created their own badge component. And they render the badge like this. They assign some of these styles over here based on input variant क्या आ रहा है. नहीं समझ आता तो it is fine. But basically, the way you use this badge component, if I quickly open Visual Studio Code, and I'm skipping a little ahead here, so don't worry if you do not understand this. But इनका जो ये code है, this component that they have defined, this badge component, you can use it in your own project like this. Badge variant equal to, let's say, blue. What this will do is, this will assign ये सारे styles to the span. यहाँ पे जो span है, उसको ये styles दे देगा. Now this styles that you see over here, these classes that you see over here are what are called Tailwind classes. Tailwind is written in this way. हम लिख रहे हैं very soon. We are writing it very soon. But I am just showing you कि even a production code base is using Tailwind, even though it looks very ugly. As I said, this gets very long as time goes by. There is a very famous meme. There is this woman on a very long monitor, very wide monitor, and it has a very long Tailwind class, and she turns around and says, I don't see why people hate Tailwind. And that's because she has a wide screen. If you don't have a wide screen, then this class will wrap to another line. So Tailwind looks ugly, people still use it, hence we are going to use it as well. Let's get right into the basics of using Tailwind. This is their official guide. This is how you install it. We'll be installing it in our React project very soon. Before we get there, things to know in a front-end framework. Just one second. Whenever you are deciding a front-end framework, most websites mein, these are the difficult bits. How do you align items in various places? Grids also let you do the same thing. Responsiveness, if you make it smaller, does it conform to the mobile styles? If you make it larger, does it conform to the design of the desktop? And lastly, standard styles like text color, background color. If you hover over something, the background color should change. Things like these. Itna agar aa gaya, then you can start to build on an existing CSS library or styling library. So this we will learn first. Hopefully you already know what flex is, what grids are, what responsiveness is, background color, text. Itni CSS so we have done. So if you understand that raw CSS, you should be able to understand how to write the same styles in Tailwind, which is what we're doing today. The very first thing that we're going to learn is about flex. Do people understand how this code on the left renders like this on the right? This is a React component. No state variables, nothing here. Simple React component returns a div jiske andar there are 3 children. The first one has a background color of green. Second one has a background color of red. Third one has the background color of pink. You can see all 3 of them rendered here. What is the problem? They are rendered one below the other. Whenever you are using a div, they will render one below the other. That is how divs are supposed to render. You should use a span in case you want them right next to each other. If you want them in line, then you use spans. If you want them one below the other, you use divs. But do we remember flexbox? Do we remember कि अगर मुझे divs को भी side by side place करना है, if I want to place these divs right next to each other, I can give the parent div display flex. I can set display to flex for the parent div. Ab all the children will appear right next to each other. This is how they appear without the parent having display flex. This is how they appear with the parent having display flex. Let's try it out locally very quickly. In the next slide, we'll see how to do this in Tailwind. Right now, no Tailwind, raw styles. Ekdam basic React project. Let's quickly try to code it. What are the steps to create a fresh React project? And I would urge you to create one because we'll be coding by the end. We'll just do this for another 30 minutes. Then we'll start coding. So I would urge you to initialize a React project with Tailwind in your local machine as well. I'm going to go to my project / cohort 3 folder. What is the command to run to start a React project? There are many ways. There's create React app. But what have we been using until now? We have been using Vite to start a React project or bootstrap a React project locally. So let me run this command. npm create Vite at the rate of latest. I'm going to give it a name. I think we are on week 13 or 14, I forgot. Tailwind class. This is the name of my project. I'm going to select React as the framework of my project. I'm going to select JavaScript. We haven't yet learned TypeScript, and hence I'm going to select JavaScript as the language. Let me go over here. And let me open this in Visual Studio Code. If you are following along locally or on your machine, you should do the same. Bootstrap an empty React project on your machine. I have done that as well. What is next step usually? After you have started a React project, take 20 seconds and then I will go to the next step. For the people who already know, install the dependencies and try to install Tailwind here as well. I'll wait for 20 seconds. Ten more seconds. All right. After you have a functioning React project, by running these commands, npm create Vite at the rate of latest, selecting React as the framework, JavaScript as the language, and opening it in Visual Studio Code. The next step is installing all the dependencies. What are the default dependencies of a React project? If I open package.json, what do I see? Dependencies are React and React DOM. React being the framework that calculates diffs in a component tree. React DOM being the thing that renders it on the DOM. If I was creating a React native project, what would my initial dependencies be? It would be React and React native. But since I'm creating a React web app, it is React and React DOM. What is the new dependency I need to add? I need to add Tailwind over here. So now we will go to the official docs of Tailwind. This is the landing page of Tailwind. Tailwindcss.com. When you go here, click on Get started. It gives you a bunch of options. You can either use the Tailwind CLI directly, or there is a section called Framework Guides. Were we using a framework to start a React project? Weren't we using Vite? What was the command I ran? I ran npm create Vite @latest. So I can just select Vite over here and it will give me the steps to install Tailwind. This step we have already done. We have already started a React project locally. We need to now install these dependencies, Tailwind, post CSS and auto prefixer. Notice it says -d over here. -d means this is a dev dependency. What are dev dependencies? If I open Visual Studio Code, there is a section called dependencies. There is a section called dev dependencies. Here, those things come that are not really pushed to production eventually. For example, Vite, it will bundle your project. It isn't really needed finally in your final React app deployed on production. Over there, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, that's all. You don't need a bundler in your wherever you have deployed your application. Build it once. Deployed bundle is HTML, CSS, JavaScript, does not require Vite. And similarly, everything that you see over here and the dependencies we are bringing are all needed during build time, but not really runtime or finally when you deploy the application, which is why I've added a -d over here. If that feels confusing, feel free to remove it as well. You don't need it, but it's a good practice to have Tailwind and other dependencies over here, and only the dependencies you need in actuality in the end over here. I've installed the dependencies. What is the next step? Let me open this on the left, this on the right. The next step is to run the Tailwind CSS command line interface, CLI. Run this command. And when I run this command, it creates a tailwind.config.js for me. What does it create? A tailwind.config.js file. That is what this command did. If I open my file tree, you will see a fresh tailwind.config.js. When I go here, oh, oopsie daisy, you will see this. We'll come to what themes and plugins are very soon. This is the important bit. This is the most important bit. This is where you will face a bunch of problems when you reach monorepos. This is where if you miss something or you do something wrong, you will rot your brain for 2 hours trying to fix why is Tailwind not working. This represents कि यार कहाँ पे फ्रंट एंड कोड लिखने वाले हो. Where are you going to write Tailwind classes. What are Tailwind classes? We will get to. Little bit we discussed in the past. But this asks कि भाई आपका कोड कहाँ है? Where are your front end code? Where are you going to use Tailwind? Where is our front end code? Source / everything over here. More technically, source / app.jsx, source / main.jsx. अभी के लिए तो यहीं पे we will write Tailwind classes. तो I can either give it the path to these two files कि यार यहाँ पे और यहाँ पे I'm going to write them, or I can write something like this. कि यार एक तो index.html फाइल में I might be using it, even though most of the times you don't. ये जो index.html फाइल है, this one, you don't really write anything over here. This is where your React code gets injected. Everything else you leave as such 99% of the times. But still, अगर हमें लिखनी पड़ भी गई, we have introduced this file, and we have introduced here anything that is present in ./source / anything .js, .ts, .jsx, .tsx. ये सारी फाइल्स में जाके देखना. Wherever you find a Tailwind class, compile it to CSS, convert it to CSS. What Tailwind does is, अभी थोड़ी देर में हम देखेंगे, we will start to write code like this. Div class name equal to background dash red, something like this. This is similar to me writing div style equal to background red. So very soon we will write code that looks like this. When you write this file path, आप Tailwind बता रहे हो कि यार ऐसा कोड ना, code that looks like this exists in these files. Please go to these files and यहाँ पे जाके देखो कौन सी क्लासेस यूज हो रही है, इनको फाइनली एक CSS फाइल में डाल दो. If I only use background dash red, then the final CSS only needs to have this red color over there. It doesn't need to have a blue color over there. तो Tailwind incrementally generates. Tailwind क्या करता है? This is some extra information you don't need to know. But the way Tailwind works is, Tailwind is not a React thing. It works with raw HTML, CSS, JavaScript also. The way it works is कि आपकी फाइनली एक CSS फाइल बना देता है, and it only has जो कोड आपने यूज किया है there. If you have used background blue, it will have a variable there called blue, something like, whatever, blue is this color, something like this. If you have used red, then in your final CSS file it will just have the red color. So Tailwind just creates a final CSS file for you. That you deploy to production. But where is it finding के कौन सी classes लोग बंदे ने use करी है? What all are developers using? It finds it here. So this is the second step you have to do after you have initialized Tailwind, you have to tell it कहाँ पे code है. The reason I said this gets complicated when you have monorepos is because monorepos में you have some code living outside this repository. कहीं और ही होता है. तो वहाँ पे you have to add something like this. dot/slash packages /UI/thing. So you will never touch this until you reach monorepos. तब जाके you will spend some time trying to figure out what else should I put here. But for now, for us, simple enough. Index.html वो भी वैसे नहीं चाहिए. This is good enough. Any file that ends with .js, .ts, .jsx, .tsx, that's this file and this file right here. वहां पे it will find Tailwind classes. Lastly, you have to add these 3 lines of code to index.css or whatever. You have 2 CSS files here. Index.css, app.css, कहीं भी डाल दो. Let's put it in index.css. Let's get rid of all the existing CSS and add these 3 lines. Same thing I'm going to do here, where I'm going to remove everything from app.css. Don't need to write anything else. This is where those variables come in eventually. यहाँ पे finally आएगा कि अच्छा blue is whatever this color, and all the other styles. These 3 lines of code eventually get converted into a bunch of CSS variables and CSS classes. Based on आप यहाँ पे क्या क्या यूज कर रहे हो. If you are using class name equal to background dash blue here, then these will get converted to something like this. क्या background blue का CSS ऐसा है, background color blue. If you are not using this in your app.jsx, तो final bundle में ये दिखेगा भी नहीं. It incrementally generates. How does it incrementally generate? It finds कि यार कौन सी फाइल है that I need to scan. It scans those files, finds the right set of classes, puts them here in index.css. सिर्फ वही classes finally आपके JavaScript bundle में होती है, sorry, CSS bundle में होती है. Only those files are converted to the CSS bundle that you deploy on the internet. You don't have to have all classes here. If the user is only using background dash blue, that is the only class you need in your CSS file. What are classes? We are coming to very soon. So to recap, I did a bunch of things to initialize Tailwind in my project. Number 1, I created a fresh React project. Number 2, I added these 3 dependencies there. Number 3, I generated a tailwind.config.js. Number 4, over there I told it कि यार यहाँ पे आई एम गोइंग टू राइट Tailwind code, and then finally in index.css I added these 3 lines of code. That is good enough. Now we have a project which has Tailwind installed. How can we confirm? Let me get rid of all the code in app.jsx. Hopefully we understand app.jsx by now. यहाँ पे जितना कोड है, let me remove. Div class name equal to background dash blue dash 300. Let me write some code. We'll understand what this is, what this does. It's very verbose. It should be easy for you to figure out what this would do. But let me just write this and write hi over here. That is the only thing I have in my app component. I got rid of everything else. I have a div and I am not giving it a style. I am not writing this background blue. I am not writing this. I am writing this. Just a different way to write the same thing. Let's see, does it work? If I start the project locally, npm run dev. If I open this project in the browser, I see hi here. I don't see any Tailwind classes. Or this is wrong. Text blue 300. Yeah, there you go. I think it's BG blue 300. There you go. It's not background blue 300. It's BG blue 300. Can you see there is a blue background here? Did I have to write style equal to background blue? I can write that as well. It does the same thing. It's a different shade of blue, but this also does the same thing. This also does the same thing. Which one is better? God knows. But people use Tailwind, so we will use the same. BG, background color, blue, blue. This variant of blue. Every color in Tailwind has a shade. As you increase this number 800, this shade gets darker. 900, it gets even darker. It goes from 100 to 900. So if I make it 200, it will be a very light shade of blue. If I make it 900, it will be a very dark shade of blue. Very nice material colors already there. You can customize them. We'll see later how. But this is how you bootstrap a project with Tailwind locally. 30 minutes we have spent on this. Hopefully this is very simple. Let me go back to the slides. For some of you, it might not be working. Let me tell you the common pitfalls. You have either forgotten to import this in index.css, or you have existing styles, get rid of them, or your tailwind.config.js is not correct and you don't have the right folder in here. Other than that, it should just work. Akash, can you do a quick poll? I'm hoping it's simple enough, but let's just do a quick poll. People can start the project locally. All right, beautiful. 92%, 93% is great. We are going to proceed to now quickly sprint through the slides. Okay, nothing too complicated here. This is how you add flex to a parent div or set its display to be flex, ताकि all three of the children appear right next to each other. How can you do the same thing in Tailwind? Before we get there, you can also style this. Hopefully you know this. Justify content lets you justify how should all the three children appear. Should they appear at equal spaces? That would happen when you write space, justify content as space between. If you don't understand this, we have a CSS class where we have covered it. But whenever you use display flex, whenever you set a parent to be flex, you can tell it कि बच्चों को कैसे align करना है. How do you have to align these three children? If you write space between, they will have equal amount of space between. Looks like a very nice way to render them. And here are other things that you can have. You can have it as flex start. That is what comes by default also. If you don't give it any justify content, by default, they will all be stacked to the start. You can set it to flex end. They will all be stacked to the end. You can set it to center. They will all be in the center. You can set it to space between. We saw that in the last slide. Space between meant इनके बीच equal amount of space है. That is exactly what is happening here as well. Child 1, child 2 and child 3 have equal amount of space between them. Space around में होता है कि some space here, like x over here, x over here, x by 2 here, x by 2 here. That is what space around gives you. This is raw CSS, nothing to do with Tailwind. We have done this in the past. We can quickly code it, but let's just look at I have written the Tailwind alternatives. So we'll try to figure them out ourselves. This is how you write this code in raw HTML. Let's try that out. app.jsx में I'm going to create a parent div with style set to display flex, and I'm going to create three children here. Child 1, child 2, and then child 3. If I go to the browser, you will see all three appear right next to each other because I've set display to be flex on the parent. If I remove this, then they appear one below the other. If I add it back, they appear right next to each other. That is how you use the flex box. The other property that we were talking about was justify content. If I write space dash between, you will notice all three children are appearing at equal spaces. If I write center, which is the most common one, you will see all three children are in the center of the screen. Question is, what does the equivalent code look like for Tailwind? This is the code for HTML. For Tailwind, again you have to add a class. If you add the class flex, that is the same thing as writing display flex here. And if you write justify between, I think I could be wrong. If you write justify between, that is the same as writing justify content space between. So this का equivalent in Tailwind is this. This का equivalent in Tailwind is this. They have very nice official docs. You can Google them. I can show you by Googling it very quickly. So if I go back to the browser, it appears to work. It works with the Tailwind CS syntax also. In this case, the Tailwind syntax is actually much more concise compared to the raw CSS syntax. So we would prefer it. And also, as you have to figure this out yourself, you should just Google Flex Tailwind, reach the official docs, and it will tell you. Okay, if you write div class name equal to flex or class equal to flex, in React you have to write class name. In raw HTML, CSS, JavaScript, you can write class. In React, you have to write class name. You can't write class there. Class is like a reserved keyword. So this is how you can find a flex is what I have to write, or the class that I have to bring from Tailwind to be able to set the parent to have display to flex. Justify center, can you guess what that would do? Justify center would put all the three children in the center. That's the same as doing justify content center. Simple hai, nothing too complicated. I would assume simple hai. To recap, display flex आप raw CSS भी लिख सकते हो. You can write raw CSS, but since we are using Tailwind, we are using Tailwind classes to do the same thing. Display flex in styles is the same as flex over here. Justify content center is the same as justify center over here. Where can you find all of this, Kirat? You can find this in the Tailwind docs. If you go to the Tailwind docs and search for example, just justify, it will show you a section for justify content. It will tell you can write justify start. That is the same as this raw CSS code. This class is the same as this. This class is the same as this. So you can just copy things from here. Whenever you need to, slowly it will become muscle memory. Good enough. We understand how to do flex in Tailwind. This is how you do it in normal CSS. Tailwind may just get the right classes. You're good to go. Moving on to grids. What are grids? Grids basically let you position multiple children with different widths, something like this. Okay, this is taking, let's say, 40% of the width. This is taking 40% of the width. This is taking 20% of the width. That is what a grid is, right? You divide a window into a grid. You can put various elements over there. So the way to create a grid in Tailwind is that the parent may you put, okay, this is a grid and this grid has 12 columns. What have we written? क्या ये parent div जो है, it is a grid and it has 12 columns. Column number 1, column number 2, column number 3, column number 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. It has 10 different columns. And in the first child, what do we write? We write div class name equal to call span 5. Here the first child is going to span 5 of these 12 grids or 12 columns. There are 12 columns here. उसमें से 5 इसने ले लिए. Second child also has call span 5. 5 इसने ले लिए. Third child has call span 2. 2 इसने ले लिए. That is how the first 12 have been filled. Then if I add another line, it will come to the next line over here. If I add call span 1 after this, there will be a very small div over here. If I add call span 12 after this, the next row will be taken by that div. So that is how you do grids in Tailwind. Let's quickly try it out. The parent I'm going to write, let me give some background color to the children so they're easy to differentiate. Class name equal to bg dash blue dash 300. The second child I'm going to give a bg dash red dash 300. Third child I'm going to give a bg dash oopsie daisy green dash 300. Simple enough. If I go back here, let me convert the parent to be a grid and say grid calls 12. Is it calls or is it call? It is calls. I say it has 12 columns. And in the first div, I say call span whatever 4. Let's say the second one spans 6 and the last one spans 2. तो पहला 4 लेगा, अगला 6 लेगा, the last one will take just 2. If I look at this in the final output, I see the first one is taking 4 out of 12 elements. Second one is taking 6 out of 12 elements. Third one is taking 2 out of 12 elements. Simple enough. Where will this be used, Harkirat? It will be used here, right? If you remember our final style that you have to create, this is taking sort of 2 columns amongst 12. This is taking 6 columns amongst 12. This is taking 4 columns amongst 12. So eventually when we will be creating this, you will need a grid, right, to position these 3 right next to each other with different widths. So for that, you can use grids. To recap, how do grids work? Simple enough. The parent sets कि यार इतने children होने चाहिए, and the child can span through a bunch of columns. If you don't write this, it will just span through one column. If you do write this, a single child can span through multiple columns, and that's how you can position elements separately. Again, I'm assuming this is simple enough, so I'm going to proceed over to responsiveness next, and then we'll do a poll. Okay? The third thing we are doing today is responsiveness. This is a little hard, so bear with me. Some of you might already know this, and this might be cakewalk for you. But what you see on the left are what are called breakpoints. Basically, most websites change their layout as you make them smaller and bigger. And these breakpoints are usually where the layout changes. क्या जब बहुत छोटी होती है ना mobile, then it has a certain layout. Let's say if the width is less than 640 pixels, it looks a certain way. As soon as you make it more than 640 pixels, as soon as you move from a mobile device to a tablet, let's say, which means if you go beyond 640 pixels, then the layout might change. If you go beyond 768 pixels, then the layout might have to change. If you go beyond, a large screen, the MacBook that I have over here, then it might change. If you go beyond 1280p, let's say on my big screen over here that I have, then the layout might change. So layouts don't change completely. By layout, I mean कि एकदम ही बदल गया. Of course, if you look at this style, as we squeeze this a little bit, this will become smaller, this will become smaller, this will become smaller. But as soon as it comes to the mobile breakpoint, this will be the first card over there, this will be the card below it, this will be the card below it. एक के नीचे एक आ जाएंगे. Layout will change completely as you go beyond a certain breakpoint. As you go above a certain breakpoint, they will again spread out right next to each other. So this is why breakpoints are important, because you change your layout sometimes based on the design of your application on these breakpoints. Rarely do you have to do it on every resize. You do it on some specific breakpoints. Tablet screen, so it should look a certain way. If it is a very long monitor, then it should look a certain way. If it is a mobile device, it should look a certain way. These are what are called the breakpoints. How do we use them? We are getting to. But these are the breakpoints, and these are the default values. 640 pixels, 768 pixels. This is mobile device, slightly wider mobile or tablet, desktop, longer desktop. 2XL is a very big desktop, or a monitor like this one. This comes the only challenging bit for today, which is that responsiveness in Tailwind is mobile first. ये थोड़ा हार्ड होता है बस. Last only tough thing for today, so bear with me for 5 minutes, is that Tailwind is mobile first. What does that mean? By default, Tailwind uses a mobile first breakpoint system. What this means is that unprefixed utilities take effect on all screen sizes, while prefixed utilities only take effect at the specific breakpoint and above. अब ये बहुत कम को समझ आएगा. Not a lot of people might have understood this. But what this means is, okay, let's say I write this code. Let's get rid of everything and have a single div over here. And I'm going to say, kya class name equal to SM colon BG dash blue dash 200. This is how you write conditional logic in Tailwind. कि यार जब स्मॉल वाले ब्रेक पॉइंट पे कुछ हो, मेक द बैकग्राउंड कलर 300. And if it is above small, let's say, or below small, one of these things, make it red. मान लो I've written this code. What would you expect? कि when the screen is small, should it be blue or should it be red? If you look at the code, it looks like it says when the screen is small, when the SM breakpoint has been hit. What was the SM breakpoint? This one right here. So it appears like it says, if you look at my code, it appears like it says कि जब 640 से छोटा होगा, when it is smaller than 640, render blue. When it is bigger than 640, render red. You would expect that. But the opposite happens. Let's see. If I open Google Chrome and refresh, on a long screen, what is rendering? Blue. What had I written over here? SM BG blue red. I had written when the screen is small, background color should be blue. But when the screen is big, the background color is blue. When I make the screen small, it becomes red. थोड़ा उल्टा सा लग रहा है. Sounds slightly counterintuitive. You look at the code and you would feel that when the screen is small, it should be blue. But when the screen is small, it is red. When the screen is big, it becomes blue. Why? Mobile first design. What did it say? What this means is that prefixed utilities. What is the unprefixed utility here? This one. This is a prefixed utility. इस यूटिलिटी पे एक प्रीफिक्स है. दिस इज अ unprefixed utility. What did it say? Unprefixed utilities take effect on all screen sizes. Unprefixed ones are default, कि ये तो रहेगा ही रहेगा, while the prefixed utilities only take effect at specific breakpoint and above. And above. Prefix utilities only take effect at that breakpoint and above. अगर आप small से ऊपर गए then it will be blue. अगर आप small से नीचे रहे by default it will be red. This is the only counterintuitive bit about Tailwind. Okay, whatever you have written like this, the unprefixed one appears on all screen, but if you have a prefixed one as well, so this would appear at the breakpoint and above. SM से लेके 2XL screen तक blue would appear, उस छोटे में red would appear. Again, to see this in action, blue is appearing when I am very big, and when I make it small, red appears over here. So do we understand mobile first approach? Let's do a little more magic. What do you think happens? Oopsie daisy. What do you think happens when I write this? MD colon BG dash green dash 300. Does this mean that medium should become green, small should become blue, and big should be red? No. This means that by default तो red होगा. So if you look at it, by default it is red. As soon as it becomes bigger than SM, as soon as it becomes bigger than 640 pixels, it becomes blue. As soon as it becomes bigger than MD, as soon as it becomes bigger than 768 pixels or whatever that number was, it becomes green. So when you prefix it, उसका मतलब है from that point to the bigger breakpoint or bigger until the bigger breakpoint, that color would appear. यहाँ से लेके end तक this would be here. If I write whatever, XL colon BG dash yellow dash 300, so what would happen? As I make it bigger, yellow would appear. Red, blue, green, and yellow. Do we understand? Mobile first Tailwind classes. ये समझ आ गया तो everything else is a piece of cake. Let's do a quick poll. ये sort of समझ आ गया. %80 is not too bad. Sorry, 87% is good enough, I would say. तो let me proceed. अभी practice करोगे तो समझ आ जाएगा 13% को. Also, I'll take doubts. Let's start the assignments quickly. Let's start coding. And I'm happy to explain it. All right. This was the use case of grids. Grids we have discussed. No, sorry. This was the. Can you try making this now really quickly? बड़ी स्क्रीन पे आई सी 3 right next to each other. छोटी स्क्रीन पे I see them one below the other. Can you try doing this? How would you do this? On a bigger screen, I want the 3 children to appear like this. Takes 40%, takes 40%, take 20%. As it goes below a certain breakpoint, I want them to appear right next, one below the other. The same logic you would write when you are designing this. When the screen is long, this takes 20%, this takes 50%, this takes 30%. But when it becomes small, they all take 100%. So the same thing you eventually have to write. Can you try to write this? Take 1 minute and try to write it. Then I will code it as well. थोड़ा knowledge आपको आ गया है, थोड़ा grid we understand. Can you try to code so that on a larger screen it looks like this, smaller screen it looks like this? Take a minute to code. I am also coding along, not speaking at all, and then we'll discuss. Grid dash code dash 3. Try to code it yourself. Oh. All right. I'll wait for another 30 seconds, then I'll proceed. I've been able to do it, as you can see. If I make it, oh, that happens really quickly though. For me, name is SM के ऊपर it oh, no, that looks right. SM के ऊपर should be this. SM के नीचे I'm missing something obvious here. SMK. I'm sure you guys have already done it. One below the other. Right next to each other. Someone will have to help me out here. I have it. It doesn't work as expected though. I'm sure I'm missing something very obvious. When it's long, I see them right next to each other. As soon as I make it a little bit smaller, I think when I go beyond the LG breakpoint, or from XL to LG or 2XL to XL, one of these two, it comes one below the other. And when I make it, super big, then they appear right next to each other. Even though my logic, if you look at it, it looks like right to me at least, but I could be wrong. Call span 5 calls. Yeah, let's look at chat and see who knows the answer and what am I missing. SM grid calls 5. Few people have written it. It's calls, not call. Oh. I think it's call span 1 only. I think for span it's call only. Here it's calls. That is right. Let's see, someone else has done it. As well. People have used different implementations. This thing, and yeah, I say a better approach would have just been this. Okay, span 12 and do this. Otherwise, let's see. Still doesn't happen though. Yeah, I don't know what I'm missing. Let's look at chat one more time. Let me open chat again. Anyone know what I'm missing? I'm sure your works, but do you guys know what I'm missing? Change SM to MD. That made it worse. Zoom out. Oh, there you go. Oh, am I zoomed in? No, I'm. Oh, you are right. My bad. Such an idiot. I was zoomed in by a lot. That is why. Thank you, sir. That fucking deserves a bounty. $25 bounty to Bayut Yuvraj. Thank you. I would have figured that out. I had zoomed out a little too much, zoomed in a little too much. So, whatever. My width was 760 pixels. So I zoomed out. Now we're good to go. Most people were able to write it. Let me take you through my code. What I've said is, there are 12 columns. But by default, I'm going to span the whole thing. और जैसे ही मैं mobile से बड़ा हो जाता हूँ, as soon as I go above mobile, I will span 5 over here, 5 over here, and 2 over here. So what have I done? When I'm very big, when I'm above the MDA breakpoint, 5, 5, 2 are being spanned. When I'm below it, then it's just one below the other, 12, 12, 12 rows are being spanned. Hopefully that's simple enough. If not, take a screenshot of this and you should be able to figure it out. All right. Moving on to the slides. I don't think too many difficult things are left now. I think we can get to the coding bit soon enough. Color system. You guys already saw a while back, but Tailwind has a bunch of default colors. For example, gray, and you can use gray 50, gray 100, gray 200, gray 500, so on and so forth. As you can see, progressively it gets darker and darker for all of these, orange, red. There are like thousands of, not thousands, like a bunch of colors. You can go to their official docs. This screenshot comes from there only. You can see a bunch of colors that they have created. You can override these colors also. But if you write in your code bg-red -300, then what you are really using is bg-red, this color right here. If you write bg-red 500, then you're using this color, so on and so forth. Hopefully that's simple enough. You can override these colors. आपका जो designer है, it is not necessary your designer chose these colors. So what will you do in that case? In that case, you can do two things. Your designer gave you a color. You can also write this. The hex representation of that color. Every color can be represented, in this hex implementation or HSL values. Hue, S and something. Basically, every color that you see, red to hex. For example, the red color can be represented in hex with this code FF0000. That's the red, the green, and the blue value. Red value is full. This is base 64, base 16, or base 64 or base 16. One of these two I'm forgetting. Base 64 हुआ ना. This is base 64 implementation most probably. That is what goes from 0 to 16, right? Or 0 to 15. I think so. I could be wrong. I think I'm forgetting the name. So FF means कि यार red is full. 55. Hopefully you know this for the people who've done the crypto classes. FF in base 64 when converted to decimals is 255. 00 when converted is 0. 00 when converted is 0. This means red color ka, of course, hex representation would be FF0000. Green का होगा 00 FF00. Red, green and blue. Blue का होगा 0000 FF. So if you have a custom color your designer gave you, you can put that custom color over here like this also. Sorry, like this. Or you can override your default colors जो Tailwind देती है to what your designer has created. अब आपके designer ने Figma में if they've used a certain shade of red, you can update your tailwind.config.css. You can update your tailwind.config.css to have, for example, override red dash 500 or override where does the MD breakpoint come, where does the LG breakpoint come. So Tailwind is highly configurable. You can change what color appears at red dash 500. Over here I've just written the default red number, but you can put any color over here. That is what will appear on your website whenever you finally render it. So if I go to my tailwind.config.js and here I write I want to extend the colors, specifically red, to have the 500 value to be blue, something random. Then whenever I use bg dash red dash 500, what would render? The blue color would render, because I've overridden red dash 500 to be blue. You shouldn't do it. You should have some shade of red there, but I've overridden it to blue. So bg dash red dash 500, as you can see, appears as blue over here, even though I've written red dash 500. Why? Because I've overridden red ka 500th variant to be blue. If I remove this, then this looks normal again. If I add this converts to blue. If I make this yellow, then this appears as this thing. If I make this hashtag FF, can you guess what that would be? White. If you add equal amount of red, green and blue, it converts to white. What would 0000 be? That would be black. So you can override colors, you can override breakpoints. The only time you touch this config usually is when this happens, or if you have to update where the files are getting picked from. Backgrounds and font, I'm assuming that's simple, guys. This is how you add a background. bg dash green dash 500, the variant. This is how you add the text color. Text dash red dash 500, text dash blue dash 500. That will change the color of the text. This will change the color of the background. Font size, text dash XS means small text. Text dash SM means slightly bigger. LG 2XL, XL like that. So if I add a class over here called text-to-Excel, what would happen in my final code? Nothing happened. Excel. Let me also remove this because text-lg text-excel. What am I missing here? I'm sure someone already knows. Let me try to debug. This is how you debug. This happens from time to time. Then you have to debug. कि क्या पंगा हो रहा है यहाँ पे? I see text-excel here. When I look at text-excel, I do see font size. So बढ़ रहा है, वो इतना बड़ा नहीं है. It has increased. But it hasn't increased by too much. So let me make it 4XL. Then it looks big enough, right? Compare this to this text right here. So you can make it 8XL if you want it really big. So this is now much bigger text. Cool. That is how you do fonts. What's left? Border radius. A lot of times you have to make divs circular, add some radius to a div. These are the classes for it. Rounded SMD will make it slightly rounded, more rounded, extremely rounded, very rounded. If you write rounded dash full, it will make it a complete circle. So let's try that out. One of our divs, let me add rounded over here. If you add just rounded, it will give a very small border radius. Let's see, did that happen? Can you see a very small border radius here? You probably cannot. It's like really small to see for the naked eye. So let me add rounded dash full. Can you see it almost took as much as it could. It isn't a circle because its width is really high. That's how you can add more and more radius over here. There's borders that you can add similarly, border colors, border width, things like these. There's no end to everything that can be done in CSS can be done in Tailwind as well. Here is the final roundup of some classes. This is how you write raw styles for background color green, text color red, font size 12, border radius 4. This is how it appears when you write it in Tailwind classes. BG red green is similar to background color green. Text red 500 is the same as color red. Text X is same as font size 12 pixels. Rounded is same as border radius of a certain number. Cool. That's not it. Like Tailwind, as I said, can do everything that raw CSS can. You can go to Tailwind whatever docs and start to look at all the components that exist, and how you can use them. Oh, sorry, not this. All of these sort of components and how you can use them. Everything that can be done in CSS can be done in using Tailwind as well. The ones that we have used until now are enough for us to build the project for today. And probably enough for most things and whatever we haven't covered / we did not handheld through today can just be Googled, and you'll reach the doc, you'll copy the style, the class, and you'll go from there. All right, this is the project for today. Let's go slide by slide and try to code it. This is the first screen. Can you try to code it in Tailwind really quickly? You cannot use raw CSS at all. You have to use Tailwind. This is what you have to create. Shouldn't take more than probably 10 minutes for the first screen. It will become easier. Try to think about how should you structure this button component. Considering in the next slide you see this, it becomes green. In this slide it is disabled. In this slide it is enabled. So how should you create this button component, this input component, subtext component, heading component, logo component? Try to figure that out. All right. 10 minutes until then I'll do Q&A. And then we'll go from there. Throat is hurting really bad. Looking at questions. Sorry, just 1 second. There we go. Move them here. This is what you have to code. Until then, let me look at projects. Sorry, the questions. It's not big. That's what I was saying. What is it? It's going in my head, but it's base 64. No, it's not base 64. Hex is what I meant. Sorry, my bad. Hex, decimal, hex to decimal. So if I go here, FF, that's 255, right? So that's what I meant. Not base 64. Sorry, I confused. My bad. If you want to take more than 10 minutes, that's fine. Half done already. That's pretty good. That happened. Oh wow, that's not bad at all. Not responsive yet. That's decent. Yeah, decent. Yeah, half done. That makes sense. Just like a half done omelette. How important is it to learn design? Sorry about that. It doesn't hurt, is what I will say. For example, recently someone got hired somewhere and he's really good. So it was a very immediate interview. He's not great at front end though. So it doesn't hurt. Uski ho gayi hiring, but the employer was like, "ये एक चीज और होती है." So this I would have just hired him. इसी की salary बढ़ा देता. He would have done everything. Now I have to hire a designer first. Then he'll build on that design. So it doesn't hurt. You save on a resource for a company. You become a very active resource for a company if you can design as well as Keshav, for example. So it doesn't hurt is what I will say, but I get it. Even I can't design, so it doesn't have to be this thing. A prerequisite to anything. But yeah, why VS Code not suggesting Tailwind CSS when I'm writing its properties? Because I'm using an AI probably, which you aren't. There is a Tailwind this thing also, like extension that a lot of people use. that helps. Well, it wasn't suggesting. Yeah, it isn't suggesting to me either. But if you want, there's a Tailwind extension that you can add. That'll start to suggest some of these for you. So just install this Tailwind CSS tooling for VS Code, and you'll start to see autocompletes in a few places. All right. Back to the design. It's called Tailwind CSS Intelligence. So it's called Tailwind CSS Intelligence. Thank you for that. What is the difference between flex, blocks, and grid? When should one use the other? They're very different, right? Flex box is for putting things next to each other. Grid is for specifying their width and height also. So grids also have rows. We haven't covered rows today. Grids में you can do columns as well as rows. तो grids are used जब आपको दिख ही रहा है कि आपके सामने जो बन रहा है ना is a grid and items are not equally placed. For example, things like these. Flex is used to you actually don't need grid. You can do everything in Flex also. For example, let me try that out really quickly. Whatever we did using grids, I can also write Flex, and then let's see if this works. Flex -1, Flex -2. May or may not work. Nah, this isn't it. Let's see if I can write the raw styles for it, and then if I can, I will show you the equivalent code in Tailwind as well. Flex 1, and then let's say 2. There you go. 4. Can you see? I have sort of created a grid only, right? What did I write? Flex 1 के भाई तू 1 width लेगा. You are going to take 1 width. You are going to take 4 width. So if this takes x, this takes x, this will take 4x. So you can actually, you don't need grids, as you saw, just for columns. Flex just works for most cases. But you need grids when आपको literally यहाँ पे कुछ डालना है. If you have to literally put it at 4x3 somewhere over here, then grids will make your life a little bit easier. But otherwise, Flexbox just works for most use cases. Tailwind is asking me to pay. It shouldn't ask you to pay. You're probably going to Tailwind components, which is their paid offering. You don't have to go there. You're probably going here or something. So this will ask you to pay. But if you're using their classes, you don't have to pay. They designed this in SCSS. Doesn't SCSS come? Yeah, it does. There's no reason for you to use one over the other. Everything works, whatever you're comfortable with. But Tailwind is just used in most startups, projects. So it's good for you to know. Doesn't matter. It's all CSS that you're writing. Bootstrap versus Tailwind CSS, both are good again, and both provide very similar, functionalities. Bootstrap is opinionated though. Tailwind isn't opinionated, so that's one reason to use Tailwind. How to become a design engineer? I would tell you if I was one. I'm not a design engineer. I hate design. But Keshav is a good one. Probably tomorrow's class will not be about GSAP. I don't think we're covering that at all. If at all, that might be an offline video, but I don't think that's part of the syllabus. That's a little too much front end to do right now or at all. All right. Are we done? Oh yeah, it is almost close to 10 minutes. Let me quickly try to design it. So you guys can see how I would have designed the same thing. First thing I would have done was replace colors. देखो इसके colors replace करने ही हैं. Finally, we have to have these colors in our Tailwind config. So what I'm going to do is step 1, get all of these colors in my Tailwind config. Usually the way I do it is image to color, and then I go over here. I pick an image. I did not download. Let's try that one more time. I mean, I have the Figma design for it. I can actually just copy it from there. I didn't share it with you guys because then you would just copy the styles as well. Let's see if I can drag it. There you go. Did not happen. Use your image. Oh, there we go. So these are the colors. Let me quickly get the first one. This is some variant of blue. So let me replace blue, I don't know, 800 or 700 with this shade of blue. And then green with this shade of green. And then this is a lighter shade of blue over here. Yeah, so this with 500. This is another shade of blue only. This with probably 200. And this is just white. This green is done. That's all the colors that we have on this screen at least. So once I have these colors over here, what do I have to do? I will start to create components. For example, I'll create a button component that will finally render. So I'll create a folder over here called components, where I'll create a button.tsx or button.jsx. I'll start to write the code for it. Now here I'll do a bunch of things. The button, I know in the next screen will become green, right? As soon as I write my email ID, this will become green. So I will give it a variant. Or I'll have a prop called disabled, which can be true or false. If it is true, then I'll render a certain thing. If it is false, I'll render a different color. This specific div, it is a button, but I'm not using button here. Native CSS buttons are very ugly. So you just create a div and you add pointer to it. This pointer is the same as writing style cursor pointer. What this will do is when the user hovers over it, their cursor will become a pointer. So it appears like a button. This is done. And it should probably get disabled. It should not remain a pointer if the button is disabled, but that's fine for now. What else do I need? I need to decide the color. So here is an ugly way to decide the color based on this disabled variable. If it is disabled, then it will be light shade of blue. If it is not disabled, then it will be green. So the ugly way to do it is this. The better way to do it is use something like CLSX or CX. They stand for classes ko jodna. These are external libraries that you can use when you want to do conditional rendering of classes. अगर आपको कोई क्लास कंडीशनली रेंडर करनी है कि यार इफ इट इज डिसेबल्ड, तब तो मुझे whatever I want to render bg-blue-200. If it is not disabled, then I want to render bg-green- whatever it was, 400. Something like this. Yeah. And the contents also I can take as inputs. Ideally, you should take this as children. Hopefully, you understand this now. Why am I taking it as children over here and rendering it over here? And on click should also come as an input. Whenever you click on it, that on click function should get called. The color should be white, so I can add that text-white. It's also white by default, so this is fine. This is how I've created my first component, the button component. It takes 3 properties: whether or not this button is disabled, what should I render inside the button, and an on-click function that gets called whenever the specific div is clicked. Also, you can notice it has a lot of padding. Horizontal padding is a lot. Vertical padding isn't too much. The way to add horizontal padding is px dash however much we want. Let's say 32. That's a lot of horizontal padding. The way to add vertical padding is py dash whatever, let's say 8. We'll see how we'll change this based on the size of the button. This adds some padding to it. What is padding? When you add space inside the div. What is margin? when you add space outside the div. So this should add the padding. This is the text color. It should be a pointer when the user hovers on it. If it is disabled, then render this, else render this. Let's see, does it work? If I go to app.jsx and render this button, give it the body of sign up, give it disabled equal to false, or let's say true. Refresh. It breaks because I haven't imported the button. Let me import it over here. Now if I go here, I see a sign up button. Of course, it is very weird right now. So let's try to fix it. One, the color looks off. Two, the font size looks off. Yeah, a lot of things look off here. Cursor pointer, यही तो होता है. Let's see. Cursor pointer tailwind. Oh, it's probably cursor dash pointer. That's my bad. Cursor dash pointer. Yeah, everything else looks right. Let me put this after these divs. Let's see it now. This is the button. It's very long. Should probably not be a div but a span. It should be in line, something like this. Should have some, whatever radius. So let me put another class over here called rounded. Or rounded dash 2xl. Then it should probably have a bigger font size. So text dash 4xl. And the colors still look off. So what were the colors here? I can't say if the color is similar, but let's assume it's similar. All right, that's the first button we have created. We still have to position it over here. We'll do that very soon. But the button component sort of seems done. Let me make this disabled equal to false. And now the green color renders. It looks very different from the design. Probably because the background color isn't blue. So the first thing I should do is get rid of this. Create a div, class name equal to h dash full or something like that. H dash screen. What this does is, okay, इस div की height will be equal to the screen height. पूरी मतलब height ले लेगा, and then whatever bg dash blue dash, I think it was 700. Slash div. So it looks something like this. Since we added padding here, it's sort of, this button is shitting bricks right now. But okay, we'll get to it. Now it looks better. Looks closer to what we want. What else do we want? This button, you were right, this is not doable in 10 minutes. I was barely able to create one component. So whoever asked for more time, good for you. Next, I'm going to create this, input component. So these are usually very hard. Everything above should be simple enough. Let's quickly create an input component right next to it. These are what are called primitives in your design. तो अगर तुमने एक बार ये बना लिए, for example, another thing you can do is variant, which can either be small or large, so that you can get a small button variant, a large button variant. So the user can tell, I want a big button or a small button. The button is done. The input will look very similar. It will have a lot of padding, and then it will have a input box over here, type equal to this should come as an input. We are creating a custom component. इनपुट तो ऑलरेडी एग्जिस्ट करता है, हम इसके ऊपर एक सुंदर इनपुट बना रहे हैं. वी आर मेकिंग अ प्रिटियर इनपुट ऑन टॉप ऑफ द नेटिव इनपुट बटन, which is why I'm taking this type as an input from the end user. Even the placeholder कि वहां पे क्या लिखा होना चाहिए should come as an input from the user. Oh, sorry, this should be JSX. Children are not needed. Disabled is not, probably not needed. And I can just have the color to be blue-200. Something like this. Let's see how it looks. I'm sure there's a lot of things we need to fix, but right now it looks something like, let me import this in app.jsx and try to use it. Type equal to, oh, it's lazy. Input should come from here. Type equal to text, and placeholder equal to username, let's say. So if I now see the designs, it looks something like, sorry, the front end, it looks something like this. It looks really bad right now, as you can see. So let me just first do this. One is very big, so let's decrease the padding. px-2, py-2 looks slightly better. And whatever, this also needs to have the same color. So class name equal to, I think I can just assign these styles directly. Either is fine. Class name equal to the same background blue color. I need to remove the outlines over here. So outline dash none, I think. Yeah, there you go. And of course, not even close to what we need. What do we need? We need something like this. Oh, it's very different. I think this is a different blue shade. So tailwind.config.js 500 it might be. Anyways, I can keep coding this, and if you want, but I would urge you to do it. I'm happy to sit and answer questions. Getting closer to what we need, right? What did we need? We needed something like this. What do we have? This and this ka variant sort of we had. The padding is very different. The colors are very different. Let's try to fix that and get closer to the components. I'm sure you can style them in the center of the screen. Let me just finish creating them, and then we'll see how to proceed. I can answer questions. We can design the more difficult bits. P-2, this will give padding all around 4. And rounded should probably then happen directly on the input box, or just add a margin to this guy, M-4. 8. Nah. P-4. 8. And this thing still needs to be rounded dash to Excel. Like that. That's how you keep going and designing this. Now you can just put them at the center of the screen. Happy to do it also. We can proceed from here. I'm hoping this is simple enough, and incrementally building on top of this. What do we have to build? First set of screens are fairly simple. Everything that you saw, right? Where go present this screen, and then whenever the user puts in their birth date, only the color changes, everything else is the same. Email ID, when they put in, as soon as it becomes valid, this becomes enabled. This one will be very difficult. This was a React assignment in cohort 2, also asked very commonly in interviews. Okay, whenever you put your cursor here and put 1, the cursor should automatically go here. When you click backspace, cursor should automatically come here. This will take most of your time. You can use refs and do this. Not too difficult to do also, but there's an assignment in cohort 2. I'm happy to just post it. It's a Notion doc which has 6 such difficult assignments to build in React. One of them was this. When the user puts a number over here, the cursor should hop over here. When the puts a number over here, cursor should hop over here, so on and so forth. That's the difficult bit here. And then this is the take-home assignment. Hopefully it's simple enough. If not, let me know. I'll code the whole thing. Let me look at. Let's do a poll next. Should we do a Q&A or whatever? Answer any questions, yes or no. If you select Q&A, then we'll do Q&A. If you select no, then I'll just code more components here. Probably the difficult components over here. Should I do a Q&A, yes or no? Pretty 50-50. So let me code one more one. The difficult one I'll code. What is the difficult one here, guys? The OTP, right? The problem with this is the difficult difficult thing isn't Tailwind here. The difficult thing is refs. But let me quickly try to code this one. Everything else you can code, I would assume. That's simple enough. So let's code the OTP component. I'm going to create a new component here called otp.jsx. Export const OTP. What does this need to render? Or if this is difficult, export function OTP. Something like this. What does it need to render? It needs to render 6 sub boxes, right? So let me first write those 6 sub boxes. Return, function sub OTP box. What should this return? It should return an input box only, right? What is this over here? It is an input box जहाँ पे बंदा कुछ लिख सकता है. So it should return an input box type equal to text, and this should have a limited width. So class name equal to w dash 40 pixels or something like that. This is how you can have a limited width of a specific thingy. And let's say this isn't exactly square, so it's slightly longer. So I would say h dash 50 pixels, and it is rounded a little bit. So I'll write rounded dash 2xl. What is the background color here? I think it is bg dash blue dash 500. Set up OTP box. I need to return 6 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'll also add class name equal to flex here so that they appear right next to each other, and justify center so they appear on the center of the screen. Now let me render this OTP component in main.jsx. Sorry, app.jsx. Get rid of everything else. Let me look at the final thing here. Let me just add a bunch of BRs over here. What does it look like right now? It looks something like this. Wow, that's closer than what I hoped for. Like very close to what we need. So let me go back here. There needs to be some spacing amongst them. So let me just add some padding here. P-2 will add some, sorry, not padding, margin. M-2 will add some margin on both the vertical axis and the horizontal axis. Now they appear right next to each other. That's a little too much padding, so M-1 should be good enough. This looks decent. I should remove the outline over here. So outline dash none. That looks decent. Now the problem is cursor appears at the beginning. It's black in color also. So to do that, I think you can add px, like horizontal padding. I could be wrong. px-4, yeah, that should do it. So 5 to hota hi nahi, so 6. That's too much. px-4 sort of gets you there. I don't know if you guys can see this cursor. I don't know how to change the color of a cursor. I think it's the same as the color. So text dash white, refresh. There you go. Sort of appears close to what we did. Not exactly. I mean, this is a little ugly. Cursor is in the middle of it. We'll fix that. Question is, when I click over here and type 1, how does it go to the next one automatically? When I am here and click on backspace, how does it come back over here? It's a little too rounded. Slightly better. Do you remember what's the answer? It's refs, right? You can use refs, have a reference to all of these boxes, and whenever this guy clicks, you move on to you call ref dot focus, I think. So let's create, now this is the ugly way to do it. Const ref1 equal to use ref, and then create 6 such refs. I'm thinking there's an easier way to do it. I can't think of an easier way right now, but I'm sure some of you will suggest something. Yeah, I can't think of a cleaner way to do this. First one, on done equal to, when the first one is done, it should call ref2 dot focus. When the second one is done, it should call ref3 dot focus. You should do all of this in a for loop. You can actually do this in a for loop, now that I think of it. But let's just do it like this for now. Ref5. When you click on the last one, ref6 dot focus. When the last one happens, you can say, button disabled is false, something like that. Okay. Const button disabled, comma set. Actually, this shouldn't do that. That should be something else. So we'll come to what that is. ठीक है जी, what have I done? I've created 6 refs over here. I've said जब पहला हो जाए, focus on the next one. दूसरा हो जाए तो focus on the next one, so on and so forth. The other thing I have to do is I have to pass the ref over here. So ref equal to ref1, ref equal to ref2. Now if you don't know refs, then this will be hard. Ref3, ref4, ref5 and ref6. This will take the ref as the input and on done as the input. Whenever the user types something here, we should say on done. So we can say whenever the input box changes, there is any change here, I'm going to call on done. I should probably check. One thing I should do is I should check yahan pe, is this an alphabet? If the user wrote an alphabet, I should reject it. But if they wrote a number, then I can call on done over here. And I will say input ref equal to this ref. If you don't understand this, you should go back to the class where we understood refs. I'm also happy to explain this again. This one's important because it's a common interview question. And probably you should clean this up if you're doing this in an interview. This is a lot of repeated logic everywhere. Let's see, does it work? Refresh, click over here, 1. Nothing happens. Let's look at the console. There is an error. Ref2.focus is not a function. My bad. It's ref.current.focus. So let me change all of this. Someone taught me this the other day. I forgot. Command Shift L. There we go. Ref.current.focus. Refresh. 1. Still didn't happen. Console. Can we probably identify reading focus? Ref equal to ref2. Input ref equal to ref. That looks right. I don't see anything wrong here. Ref errands. There we go. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, something like this. The problem was I was writing ref over here. Ref is sort of a, think of it like it's not a reserved keyword, but you can't pass it down to a component. So I replace the name of the prop with reference. So whatever refs I create here, pass them down as references to this setup OTP box. It does this. What is the other thing I have to do? Whenever you are somewhere and the user clicks on back, you should go back to the last one. So here you should check if e dot key pressed or something like that. Oh. Yeah, this will probably be harder than what what I was assuming initially. पहले देखते इतना समझ आया, then we'll do the other part. Let's do a poll. Do we understand this, guys? The OTP logic. How can you build something like this? Of course, it doesn't work completely. आगे का हो रहा है, अभी पीछे का नहीं हो रहा. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is working. We should also add a button below it and make it enabled जब last वाला हो जाए. So you can try something like this. Okay, you have a button imported over here with disabled set to disabled, which is a component, state variable here. And we set it to true in the last one. When the user clicks the last one, then we simply call set disabled to be false. What else did button expect? It expected still children and on click. We don't need on click for now. So now we have a button. Let me make it appear below. We can position it below very easily. Let me also put something here. Sign up. Something like this. When I type 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, this becomes green in color. And you should of course add the logic if you remove it. Person might remove it from here. So the variable should change a different way, but hopefully this is a good starting point for you to figure it out from here. When I put the last one here, a state variable changes that causes this button to re-render. It becomes green in color. Cool. Did we do the poll, Akash? I don't know. Polls and quizzes. Do you understand this refs wala logic? Oh, not a lot of people. 81% is still pretty good. 77%, 70%. Okay, let me try to explain it again. Let me see if there are more complicated things that are left here in what you're building, which is, where is it? Where are the slides? Totally lost them. Okay, let me open chat and get the slides from there. I can't see the slides. Canva. Oh, I'm on the wrong browser. My bad. All right, there we go. So let's see what other difficult things are here. Let's also implement backspace very soon. Let me first explain. Yeah, there's nothing else that's difficult here. Like everything else is just text, subtext, things like these. Here, the difficult thing would be responsiveness and sidebars. Figure that out. I'll try to create an offline video, or tomorrow we can discuss this. This is actually really hard. Not really hard, but like there are multiple ways to do sidebars. So which way you choose is the question. So let's do sidebars. Let's try to do this one tomorrow. That we can do a proper right front end code tomorrow, sort of a class. I have more designs for this, so if you want, I can also show you the actual webinar screen, things like these. We can make those as well. Abhi ke liye, let me explain this OTB logic again. Then let me add the logic to make backspace work as expected. So first you have to understand refs. Refs we discussed a few classes ago. More specifically, we understood the use ref hook. So if you go to the web dev cohort in React part 1, you'll see the use ref hook. And if you remember the definition, we said in React, use ref is a hook that provides a way to create a reference to a DOM element. It lets you refer a DOM element. In fact, this was the same example we took the other day. We created an input box and we said when the user clicks on a button, that input box पे focus हो जाना चाहिए. The cursor should reach the input box, and this is the code that we wrote. यार, if you want to do this, you will have to create a reference to the input box. This is the same code that we wrote a few weeks ago. Same we are writing today. You create a ref by using the useRef hook. You assign it to this input. What that does is कि अब इस input को अगर आपको access करना है, if you want to access this DOM element, useRef is a hook that provides you a way to create a reference to a DOM element. So if you want to create a reference to this DOM element, you can do it by initializing the ref over here, passing it to the input box over here. That way, अब अगर आपको इस DOM element को access करना है, you don't have to do document.getElement by ID input ID. You can simply do input.ref.current.focus, or input.ref.current will give you this box, this DOM element. Input.ref.current.focus will move the cursor over there. So what did we want? We wanted something similar. So what did we do? We created 6 different references. We created 6 different refs, and we said ये जो सब OTP box है, इसमें I am going to pass this ref1 variable कि भाई जो पहला रेंडर है उसका जो इनपुट बॉक्स है वहां पे ref would be ref1, and then जो सेकेंड इनपुट है उसमें जो इनपुट बॉक्स है देयर ref would be ref2, ref3, ref4, ref5, ref6, like that. So this is how we passed these 6 references to these 6 children. And what did we say? कि यार जब पहला बटन क्लिक हो जाए, then focus on ref2, then focus on the second input box. जब second बटन क्लिक हो जाए, then third input box, so on and so forth. When is on done called? It is called whenever there is a on change event on the input handler. By on change event I mean कि कुछ type हुआ. This on change event gets triggered whenever you type something. The problem is now we need to figure out whatever the user has typed, has that removed the value? Did the user type backspace? Basically we should also do more validations here. So let's do that. Let's say कि यार यहां पे जो वैल्यू है ना, I am going to force it. This is what's called a controlled component. I think so. Or something very close. Most probably it's called a controlled component. What that means is कि ये जो इनपुट है ना, आप इसमें टाइप करते रहो जो भी कर रहे हो. I don't care. I am going to force a value in here. So let me create a state variable. Let me start simple. Let me write const value equal to 1. And input box को let me force a value of value, this variable, or let's call this input box val. What I'm doing here is कि जो input है उसमें this specific value will be hard coded. If I now open the code, you will see सब में 1 आ गया. Even if I type over here, they don't change. If I type, nothing changes. Why? Because मैंने force कर दिया भाई यहाँ पे value 1 ही रहेगी. Why would you want to do that? क्योंकि अगर मैंने यहाँ A टाइप किया या B टाइप किया या C टाइप किया, that should not change इसकी value. This should only work if the user presses a button from 1 to 9 or 1 to 0 whatever. This should not work if the user presses A, B or C. So how can you fix that? आप क्या करोगे? यार ये जो जब भी user is putting some value there, firstly you'll initialize the value to be empty only. Then you will say, यार if the user has pressed the button, क्या value आई है? If the value is empty, sorry, when the user types something, अभी मैंने क्या किया है कि यार hard coded value is empty, hard coded value is empty, तो यहां पे आपका empty दिख रहा है. But the problem is if you type, it still remains empty because I'm using input as a controlled component. मैं इसको वैल्यू फोर्स करके दे रहा हूं कि भाई अंदर जो भी चेंज हो आई डोंट केयर, आई एम फोर्सिंग द वैल्यू टू बी एन एम्प्टी स्ट्रिंग. बट आई वांट कि यार अगर कुछ अच्छा टाइप किया बंदे ने, इफ दे टाइप अ number, then I want this value to be propagated, that number to be propagated. So let me first convert this into a state variable. Let me first convert this into a state variable, empty string initially. What am I going to do next? I am going to say कि यार if the user typed something, control will reach here, and when the user types something and control reaches here, you get the current value on the input box by doing this. E dot target dot value. Actual में when you are passing down something to a controlled component, आप इसको कह रहे हो कि value is something that happens after a re-render. जब मैं immediately यहाँ 1 टाइप करूंगा, 1 actually comes here, but for a fraction of a second. For that fraction of a second, I will get that value over here. When I say E dot target, that is the same as a reference to this DOM element. E dot target dot value is the value inside it. So if I write const value to this, इसके बाद मैं क्या करूंगा कि यार अगर तो वैल एम्प्टी हो गई, if the user pressed backspace to remove something, I need to go back. So I will write the go back logic here. Else if val equal to, 1, or you can do this better. Like, this is a very ugly way to do it. You can compare val without doing this. कि हाँ तुम सारे digits के लिए check कर रहे हो. I am doing that right now, but you should do it. There's a better way. There are better ways to fix this. Convert this into a number. Convert this into ASCII. Compare if it's between whatever 45 to 55, 55 to 65, whatever those ASCII values are. This is the ugly way to do it. 6, 7, or 8, or excuse me, equal to 9. What will happen in this case? The user legitimately typed the right key. They did not write A, B, C or something. They typed the right key. So in that case, I will actually call on done. And else, अगर यूजर ने A टाइप किया, B टाइप किया, कंट्रोल टाइप किया, Z टाइप किया, then I will not do anything. They will still see an empty thing over there. I did not update this state variable. I will only update this state variable if the user has typed something like this. तो यहाँ पे along with on done, I will call this. कि यार जो भी बंदे के ने टाइप किया भी, that comes in this value. If that is one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, one of these, तो ठीक है. I am going to change the controlled input to be that. But if he pressed backspace, if he removed everything, then he should go back to a one level before. If they typed something right, then convert this input value to be correct. Else, do nothing. Let's try this out. If I look at it now, when I type ABCD, मैं कुछ भी लिख रहा हूं, कुछ नहीं हो रहा. But if I type 1, it is working. If I type something random, it is not working. If I type 2, it is working. So if you are one step there, what is left? The go back logic. Okay, yaar, when you are on the first row and the person presses backspace, do nothing. When you're on the second one and the person presses on back, the person presses the back button or backspace, whatever, then where will you go? You will go from here to here. So you will go to ref1 dot current dot focus. If the user presses it over here, then you'll go to ref2. If they press it over here, you'll go to ref3. If they press it over here, you'll go to ref4. Press it over here, go to ref5. Cool. And यहाँ पे whenever val becomes empty, user presses backspace, we should call go back, which will be received as a prop here. Simple enough. Hopefully it is. Let's test it out first, then we'll go through the code again. If I look at this, 1, 2, 3, press backspace. Didn't do anything. Let's see. When I press backspace, console.log val, it will probably be undefined or something. Let's see. Oh, backspace doesn't trigger it. Yeah, this will be much harder than I hoped then. We'll have to add a key event listener here. On key up. Something like this. Yeah, this will make our lives much easier, I say. If let me remove this logic from here. And here I will say if e dot key equal to, or whatever, key code, key equal to key for backspace. E dot key event js. It's 8. So if e dot which is disabled, let's log it here, console.log e dot key. So whenever the key up happens, e dot key is backspace. So wherever e dot, if e dot key equal to backspace, what will I do? I'll call go back. Else, if the user presses a legitimate key, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, 1, 2, 3, 4, then this logic would run. If the user presses the backspace key, then this logic would run. Let's see if does that happen. If I refresh this, 1, 2, 3, backspace gives a very big error. Go back is not a function because probably for some of them I'm not defining go back. For the first one, go back should be empty. For the second one, I've written on back here. So let me replace it with go back, refresh, 1, 2, 3, backspace, backspace, backspace. You still see a problem. State variables aren't updating. How would you fix that? You'll have to move the state variables here. It'll get more complicated. You will have to move the state variables here. The parent component will need to have the state variables. We have a few more minutes. Let me quickly do this. Input box val, comma set input box val. Basically, along with all the refs that we have here, you can actually define 6 of these. Again, this is the ugly approach. There is a better way to do it is, just have an array rather than having this. But me just show you one approach, then I can also discuss the other one. Hopefully this you guys understand. The problem also you understand, the solution also you understand. The problem to hopefully is clear. Okay, when you go back, the state variable doesn't update. So I need to update the state variable of the previous one. So uske liye I need to pull the state over here. Whenever go back happens, this gets called. पीछे वाले पे जाना भी है, पीछे वाले को रिमूव भी करना है, राइट? या उस वाले को रिमूव करना होगा, एक्चुअली वन ऑफ दीज टू. We'll see as we complete this. Val equal to input box or whatever the prop was. The prop was input box val. So yeah, this is getting more uglier than I would like for it to be. So let me take a pause here. This is getting uglier than I would like for it to be. Let's figure out a cleaner way to do it. अभी अगर इंटरव्यू में ये कर दोगे तो you're probably not getting selected because this is slightly ugly to create 6 variables. There should be a generic thing. उसमें एक number pass करूंगा. So if I pass the number as 8, I should see 8 input boxes here. If I pass 10 over there, I should see 10 input boxes. I shouldn't have hard coded logic like this. So even though it sort of works, if I press backspace, it goes over here. If I press backspace, it sort of goes over here. But what we want to do is make this slightly more generic. Okay, OTP will take a number as an input, and the number could be anything. It could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 10, और जो भी input यहाँ आया number, that many input boxes you have to create. How will you do this? I don't know. I will also figure it out. Let's see. You have the number of inputs that you have to create. So for sure, you have to render as many input boxes. So let's do that first. You have to render as many input boxes. The number that came was 10. I need to create an array of 10 elements and map this to this, something like this. Wrote a lot of code very quickly. What I want to do is, if the number is 10, let's say, I want to create 10 of these OTP elements for now. Implementation बाद में देख लेंगे. Let's just create 10 of these OTP elements. How can you do that? Easiest way to do that is, create an array of these many elements with that setup input box component. So the way to do that is, create an empty array of numbers first. Create an array with given length JS. Something like this only you have to do, array.from or array of n.fill0. That works. So array of that should be fine. Number dot fill की जरूरत है नहीं वैसे map and then this setup input box component is what we will render over here. अब यहाँ पे थोड़ा दिमाग खराब हो गया होगा. I will explain in a while. Let's just see. Does it do what we think it does? Key equal to index. If 10 is passed as a number over here, does it render 10 of these input boxes? Let's see. OTP number equal to 20, let's say. If I go back here, I see nothing. And that is because, let me render number here. I see 20. Array of number dot fill 1 dot map. Let's see what array of 5 returns. Array of number dot fill 1. So that should do the same thing, right? Ref1 is not defined. My bad. There we go. User passed in 10. This look like more than 10 if I'm being honest. Oh, I passed 20 here. I see 20 of these. यहाँ से how do we build on it? I don't know. I'm figuring it out with you. Let's do a quick poll. Should we do Q&A? Do you want me to continue? Do you want me to continue building this? Yes or no? A generic OTP component that would do this. Do you want me to continue? Yes or no? If the answer is yes, I will continue. If the answer is no, we'll do Q&A. Because at time here, I want to make sure, if you want to Q&A, we can do Q&A. Should I continue? Yes or no? Strong, yes, I would say 70%. So yeah, we will continue. I'm also, intrigued now. Okay, कैसे होगा? हाँ, ठीक है. So we have this now. Now the question is, how do you create an array of refs? You can't really put a for loop over here. So you have to do all ref logic inside this guy. Which is fine. I'm also figuring it out with you guys. So, I don't know the answer to this. I did not even code this in cohort 2. People did, like I did not. So I'm also figuring this out with you guys. refs definitely need to be here. But the problem then will be, how will this guy control refs? Thinking. Can you create an array of refs here? The answer is most probably no. Can you create an array of refs in React? Oh, okay. Okay. You can sort of do it. Ref equal to L current element dot current I equal to L. Ref equal to a function. I can use hook. Exactly. You cannot use hooks inside loops. तो ये तो आप नहीं कर सकते कि you create a for loop of refs. Here is a solution to, in order to make it work when arrays change over the time. Let's see. I just don't know what's happening here. Item refs dot current of I equal to L, where ref is L. Okay, makes sense. So when you pass in a function to a ref, then yeah, exactly, that makes sense. All right, cool. Let's try this out. I think I have an idea of what's happening here. We will have to create an array of refs, but you can't put hooks inside a for loop. You can't do let I equal to 0, I less than n, I plus plus, and put inside a for loop. So what we'll have to do is we'll have to create a ref of an array. Const ref equal to use ref array. If you remember, refs can be used for both. It can be used to store a DOM element. It can also be used to store a value like a number, something like that. A number, an integer, things like these. Not an empty array of number dot fill 0. An array which has zeros at every point initially. Then what we'll do here is, when we are rendering, the ref or whatever reference over here is going to be e ref dot current of index equal to e. That will set ref dot current of index to be that specific input value. I think we will see very soon, most probably based on the answer it would. And that way, all I have to do here is ref dot current of index plus 1 dot current dot focus, and on back I have to do ref dot current of index minus 1 dot current dot focus. Now if you're on the last one, you shouldn't do it. If you're on the first one, you shouldn't do this. So you can put it inside a try catch block, or you can check if index plus 1 is greater than equal to number, then don't do this. And here you can check if index is 0, then don't do this. Let's see, does that work? Reference is this thing, on done is done, go back is done. Refresh 1, 2, nah, did not work. Anything in the console? Reading focus of undefined. Alrighty. So let's try to look at console dot log ref dot current of, that looks right. Refresh 1. Ref dot current is an empty array which has everything we need. So what was the problem? Console log index. One index is 0. So ref dot current of 1. You don't need current over here anymore. That makes sense. One, two, three, four. All right. We have a generic component जहाँ पे आगे जाना now works. What was the most difficult thing here? Why was I dreading doing this? Because you can't put refs inside a for loop. So we Googled, we reached this Stack Overflow endpoint where it said कि अगर आपको ये करना ही है, then you create a reference to an array, and उस array में you store the individual references of all the elements. इस array की ith element you replace with that specific element, जो whatever. In this case is a div. In our case is this input right here. I'm not explaining this very well, but this code needs to go somewhere so you guys can see it and figure this out yourself also. In case the code should go somewhere, let me quickly commit this and push it somewhere. So that even after the class you can try to figure this out. अभी इसमें सिर्फ आगे जाने वाला है, बैकस्पेस वाला लॉजिक नहीं है, but that should be simple enough. There was some bug in the hard-coded 6 wala value, which should be easy to fix. And once that happens, dash OTP box. Once that happens, this is sort of simpler to finish. All right, you guys can look at the code over here. Sorry to everyone. And this finishes the implementation of, let me explain this also. Yeah, basically what we're doing is we are not generating 6 different ref variables here. We have a single ref variable which is an array. Array of number dot fill 0 will create an array with number of elements. So if this is 10, it will create an array of 10 elements. Then what do we do? यहाँ पे we say कि यार x number of times, whatever that number was, 10, 20 number of times, I want to render this sub OTP box. But इसमें जो reference जा रही है, that is not ref1, ref2 or ref3. That is this function right here. What does this function do? क्या जो भी वो element आ रहा है, whatever that DOM element is where this, ref equal to x is being called, put it not in ref1. पहले हम क्या कर रहे थे यहाँ पे? We were doing this ref1, which is the same as doing e ref1 dot current equal to e, something like this. What we are doing now is कि whatever the reference comes over here, I am doing ref dot current of the ith value is this specific input box. This is the only thing that we changed. उसको छोड़ के it is just the logic is the same है, on done पे अब हम क्या कर रहे हैं कि अगले वाले पे क्लिक कर दो, on back पे हम क्या कर रहे हैं पिछले वाले पे क्लिक कर दो. So that is how you would build a OTP box. The back logic is still a little weird. Let me show you what happens when I click on back. It goes back. It doesn't delete these specific elements. So figure that out. That will also be difficult. Now that I think of it, yeah, you can just variable. That'll be easy. You can get a state variable here. Whatever values, comma set values equal to use state array, or similar to this. That should be simple actually. Do it. I'm giving a very small hint here. Create an empty array here and pass these values down to the specific state component, figure it out. All right. That's the assignment for today, along with this thing. The design. Oh, my laptop crashed. Oh no, sorry. There you go. Along with this screen right here. This is one assignment for today. Second assignment is, given this starter code, how can you make the backspace logic work correctly right now? It's a little faulty, not too faulty, but a lot of things are weak over here. For example, one more thing that is wrong is when I press 1, 2, 3 backspace. Now if I write 7, it doesn't go forward anymore. There's a bug in our logic because of which this happens. So hopefully some of you can already think about it. तो आगे जाना works, backspace sort of works, and आगे जाना then fails. So figure out how to fix that and create a PR. What else? We'll move on to Q&A. This is the first thing you have to fix. The starter code is already on GitHub. You can go here and see. Second thing you have to do is build this specific design before tomorrow. I'll also do the same thing tomorrow, and we'll do more designs and do more challenges like these. These are the questions that are anyways asked. Knowledge कितनी बढ़ जाती है इससे. मुझे भी नहीं पता था आज तक. How do you create an array of refs? I learned this today only. So this is how you learn. All right, we will do Q&A now. I'm going to open chat. We'll go from there. Someone also had some implementation, it seems. I don't know who that is. Oh, that's you only. OTP input submit trigger. The comments are telling me something, sir. I smell ChatGPT. Or you're a great developer and explaining of your code, Akash. Which one of the two it is? Is this ChatGPT? Like very clean comments. No developer writes clean comments like this. Is this ChatGPT, Akash? You wrote the comments. That's pretty good. That is very surprising and very good. Submit trigger. Who else here thinks he did not write the code? I don't know. I would have expected this. These are like pretty good comments, which usually GPT writes. But either way works. Alrighty. Oh, do you think Judge Akash cheated? All right. It's a yes. Cool. That's quite a poll. All right. I mean, it's sort of obvious. I don't know, but if you're saying, I'll agree with you, sir. All right. Notion docs, answering more questions. I wrote it so later I can understand it. That's what every GPT guy says. I'm kidding. I'm sure you wrote it. All right. Someone else has an implementation also. Okay. Let me just open Notion docs today. It's been a while since I've seen it. Notion docs. Please check. This is my first class I joined yesterday. What is your question, sir? Let's see. Let's answer your question first. Notion is taking a long time for me. Someone did the assignment with a basic idea of Tailwind. Let's see. My internet is bad or Notion is... I don't have access to this one. Hi Kirat, whoever wrote. Tailwind assignment. Just add npm install lucid icons and wait, I don't see anything here. And also, I don't think I have the time to set this up locally. Just deploy it somewhere and show me the deployed thing and I can help you debug. But yeah, I don't see anything here. Oh. Full stack. Oh. Motherfucker copied the whole thing. Nice. Very cool. Bro, it's like pixel to pixel copied. You want me to connect you to Apex? I don't know if they're hiring for next developers or whatever. But that's pretty good. That's actually pretty good. Like pixel perfect. Did you use an? Pretty sure you didn't use an AI, but yeah, that's pretty good. It's like it's almost like I'm on the other website. Very, very good. I don't have access to this one. All right, someone has a lot of projects. Build project from scratch. Connect with me. Alrighty. Let's connect on Twitter. Few projects. Let's look at your projects. Pretty decent. Feel like I've seen this before. This looked pretty good whenever you wrote this. Yeah, very nice. All right, I'll give you a follow. Code generator, some YouTube video, not great UI. This looks decent. This looks decent. All right, that looks good. After the interview, they downloaded a Ninja role. However, interview was good and received offer letter for that position. 3 months since I received the offer letter, but I haven't received a joining letter. I'm the worst person to guide on this because I haven't faced this, right? The best was, I mean, standard advice is don't trust them anymore. January ke baad that might become March. March can become, April. So almost assume this has been revoked. Now what would you do? Assume you never got this offer. What would you do then? Do that, which would probably be, applying for jobs, gaining skills, then applying for jobs. If you don't have skills right now, if you do have skills, and just applying for jobs, that's what you would do. I would. The only thing I would change is just assume you don't have this job and go from there. Alrighty. A lot of people have built a lot of this, which is very cool. Like a lot of the assignments today, mostly done. That's pretty good. With the responsiveness, that's pretty good. Some minor rough edges here and there, but yeah, pretty good. All right. Yeah, do you see that? That's what I said was very difficult. There are various implementations of sidebars. This person has made an animated sidebar as you go from here to here, but you can do different things. So yeah, but this one's pretty good. I'll probably show this tomorrow. Now how do I figure out the code? आपने डाला था but मैंने वो देखा नहीं. Let's look at the chat again. Which one was this? I think it was this one. So I'll try to explain your code only tomorrow. Considering you've built the sidebar, I would also love to look at your implementation. Please don't tell me it's using Shadcn or something. Tell me you wrote it from scratch. But I'll look at it. And you've committed your dist folder, sir. Not the best practice. Uh, all right, more. Oh, some new theme. I wish I remembered. How do you get the theme? How do you get the theme? So I just googled better themes for videos and it shows the second one. Um, just let me know how to find it out. I'll happy to do it. Um, all right. Oh wow, looks pretty good. Dark mode bhi hai. And yeah, that's pretty good. Waiting for this one. This one's done. This one's done. This one. Oh, check your email. Use your email. Oh, the same yesterday. Okay, let's try it out. Log in. Little too many animations for my liking. Log in. Ooh. This is actually pretty good. So I logged in. Let's go to dashboard. Yeah, there's too many animations. Just get rid of them completely. Change your role. Wow. Wow, it's like good onboarding process also. Wow. Dude, good for you. This is like pretty polished of a product. Like it's like you're building this as a business almost. Has everything you need, right? Some things don't work with that. That's fine. How do you create a new course now? Courses. Oh, you already created some for me and some friends of mine. Haha. Close friends, I must say. Enroll now. Yeah, pretty decent. Visit. All right. Pretty good, man. I like it. Yeah, complete the thing. There are a lot of challenges that come in something like this. Mobile app is bare minimum. Video transcoding, scaling, as you know, a lot of educators come. So try it out. Good, nice side track. Whatever project to build. Expense tracker. Probably won't be able to sign up because we're ahead of time here. Few more things. All right. One last round, guys. One last round, then we'll call it. Akash said TCS sometimes takes 12 to 18 months. So yeah, be prepared. I think a lot of companies. It's not just TCS. I think a lot of companies whatever they are doing this, especially if you got hired like a year ago in your fourth year shuru mein for campus placement. Like companies change a lot in a year, so they might not be hiring now. How to create a world in 10 hours? You mean like a gather world, or was this satire? Gist. Alrighty. Last set of docs. Let's go through them really quickly. AI integration. Please answer. I asked you a question. I said you were too quick for the integration of the AI model. Do I need a cloud provider? Oh, sorry. What was the context on this? I'm starting doing this code. Do I need to make API for that mod? Oh, using Flask for me to fetch for the front end. What are the okay? Seems like below is the code took me more than 5 days. I increase my pace, so it doesn't take that much. Amazon cart with recall implemented. So this took you 5 days. That's not a lot of, but like next time it'll take you 2 days. You will see. If you have for loops in there, those are the harder bits to chew initially. You have recoil. Next time will take you less time. Practice is what will make you faster. That's the answer to your second question. The first question, I forgot a little bit of context of what it was. I remember you were making some model and then there was some question. I totally forgot what the question was. For integrating an AI model, do I need a cloud provider? No. So if you want to use GPT, if you want to use Claude, they all have API dashboards. You might have seen them, might not have seen them, but if I open my Claude API dashboard over there, the API dashboard will, you'll get an API. You directly hit it from your backend. I repeat. So, if this is the user's browser, and this is your backend, user wants to ask some question to an AI, you will proxy it from your backend to the AI, get back the response, return it to the user. What you will not do is connect the user directly to the AI, because that way your API key will get leaked. Very simple thing. So your user can start to exploit your API key and hit requests there. You should proxy it. You should rate limited. You should make sure the user doesn't send you more than 5 requests a minute. If they do, you should charge them money, so on and so forth. So this package you can write in any language. You can write it in Node.js. You can write it in Python. You can send a raw HTTP request to whatever api.claude.com, or you can there's some Node.js SDK, Python SDK, so you can simply use that, import whatever Claude from Claude-SDK, Claude.configure whatever your API key is that you got from your API key dashboard. And then lastly, whatever Claude.ask or whatever, send a prompt. Okay, this is what the user asked. You get back the response. You show them to the user on the browser. That's as simple as that. You don't need your own cloud provider or your own server for the model, unless you're self-hosting model. If you're running Mistral, Llama, some open source model, then there's a different question. Let's see if we changed anything here. But yeah, that's the long story short of and do I need to make an API for that AI model? So yeah, you need to, don't let the user's browser directly connect to the AI. Proxy through your own backend. That you have to write. Twitter clone, pretty good dice game. How do I play it? I selected the no at here. Okay, nice, very cool. Oh, can you do error boundary using functional components? Wow. Someone said you have said that error boundary by using class component, but you can use functional component as given below. Let's see. You are depending on this library, sir. What is this library doing? If I open its code, what is happening here? Oh my god, it is a class. So yes, you are using a library that is using a class only ना. तो आपने ये खुद नहीं लिखी क्लास, आपने एक लाइब्रेरी यूज कर ली जिसने लिख ली क्लास. तो आर यू स्टिल यूजिंग एन एरर बाउंड्री क्लास? यस. Error boundary errors don't propagate to a functional components weren't written to catch these. That is why you always have to create this. आपने क्या किया? You have said Harkirat that error boundary by using class components, but you use functional component as given below. This is not a functional component. This error boundary is the class based component. वो आपने नहीं लिखी है, someone else wrote it, but it is still a class based component. This error boundary component you can find in their code over here, and as you can see, it is not a functional component, it is a class. It is very similar to the code that we had written in the class. That's your first question. What's the second question? By the way, will you teach storybook also? Probably not, but like happy to if we finish early. It's not part of the syllabus officially, but we'll see. A very big gist, which I don't know what it does. Oh, it's probably the OTP thingy. This looks clean, by which I mean it's less code than I would have imagined. So I'm saving this. I'll see this and we'll discuss this tomorrow anyway. We'll see. Looks pretty decent to me. Have you put all the code? It just has one input code. Okay. Length is the total number of OTPs that you need, or whatever input boxes that you need. You create a ref of an array similar to the thing I did. Process numbers. So this is the main thing. You don't have a state variable, but you're storing the final code in the array. And how are you passing it down? What is the value over here? It is num. What is num over here? Code.num. What is code over here? It is the string, I would assume, right? Yeah, so you're just passing down each every value as the controlled component. Whenever it changes, what happens? Process input. What does process input do? It just changes this state variable somewhere. Set code kahan run ho raha hai. Over here that happens. Makes sense. So yes, this looks like a decent implementation of what we want to do. All right, this is done. And it's not forgotten how the neighbor's kids posting track and class properly. I want to be on a track or Tailwind model class. So what to do? I'll upload the recording on harkirat.classics.co.in by 2 a.m. today. So you can do that. And sorry for whatever happened. All right, this is done. This is done. This is done. This is done. Last set of reviews, and we'll go from there. This is pretty good. I think you showed me a while back. You said you used some library. These are decent. A little too much animation, and most companies need this. One's pretty average. Yeah, the colors and everything, not super great. This one, and you have an Amazon clone, which is probably the worst part. Just remove Amazon clone, Netflix clone, even Twitter clone. Two overused projects. So yeah, remove them from resumes now. All right, cool. With that, we'll call it, guys. Thank you all for joining. I will see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll do more front end only. I mean, we'll design a website. I'll bring more challenges like these. We'll try to code them. That's pretty much what tomorrow is going to be. With that, we'll end it. I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a good night, folks. Bye bye.